Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to the first webinar of the COP30 webinar series of the Buildings and Cooling Pavilion. Today the webinar is entitled Launching the Road to Belém, Action, Visions and Opportunities. My name is Malia Leslie, and today I'm pleased to have Gunnar Arol, head of the cities unit at UNEP and head of the Global ABC, doing an introductions on the global stocktake and how the UNEP cities unit aligns with the COP presidency priorities this year. Then I will be pleased to have Anna Zineker from the program of energy efficiency building on climate finance for the built environment, state of the art. Then I will be honored to have Lily Riai, head of the Cool Coalition, and Hanan Afraoui, lead of the Global ABC on the built environment. So without further ado, Gulnara, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Malia. First of all, I wanted to mention that we just celebrated the 10th year anniversary of the Paris Climate Agreement. So I think it's a very important milestone, and this is really a very good moment to think about what has been achieved in the climate area. And this is where we really want to highlight the importance of the first global stocktake. This is really where, on the mitigation side, there was quite a lot of the progress. There was a progress to limit the temperature increase from a predicted 4 degrees Celsius to average 2.5, upon full implementation of the national determined contributions. And of course, mitigation and adaptation go together, and we really see the growing importance of adaptation. On adaptation, there is lots of actions taking place. We already know that 51 parties submitted their national adaptation plans, and 62 have submitted the adaptation communications. All this actually shows how important all these activities are, and that really each voice, each action really matters in order to achieve the goal. And this goal is collective, and just by working together, we really can achieve the objectives of the Paris Agreement, which is now 10 years old. At the same time, as we are really all very dedicated to implementing many different activities to achieve the very important goals of the Paris Climate Agreement, a lot to be done, and we have a lot of different tools to support the implementation of the agreement and achieving the objectives. However, there is one of the big discussions on the finance. And as we know, the gap of the needs and the available funding now estimated to $5.9 trillion. And Anna Zineker, who already Malia announced from the Program on Energy Efficiency in Building, will speak a bit more on the climate finance for the built environment. So this is definitely the topic that we will be addressing in the upcoming webinars in the future as well. So the finance is really very important. So we are all very inspired by all our meetings that we had during the last weeks, where many of you went to Bonn, and then probably some of you still in London. And we at the cities unit and across UNEP-led coalitions, including the Cool Coalition, Global Alliance for Building and Construction, Food Never Waste. So we're really trying to align our activities not just with the Paris Agreement, but really also with COP30 presidency, who made very important announcement of what is expected at the COP30. And I'm very happy also that my colleagues Lili Riahi and Hanan Khafraoui will be explaining a bit more about what are specific activities we're doing. And we're very excited that about the action agenda which was announced, and we really see that we can contribute quite a lot to the agendas on transition and energy industry and transport, but also on the topic of building a resilience for cities, infrastructure, and water. So this is really a very important topic going forward towards COP30. In addition, just I wanted to mention as well all the work on related to adaptation, so generation restoration project, which is led by UNEP and supported by the government of Germany. This is really, I think, one of the important projects that highlights the triple wins of biodiversity recovery, climate adaptation, and improved quality of life of people. So it's also looking into as well as restoration, but also into environmental protection, as well as into social and economic priorities like creating green jobs, enhancing public health, and building more inclusive and livable cities. And generation restoration will definitely support the point 3 of the COP30 presidency agenda on stewarding forests, ocean, and biodiversity. We are also very much looking forward for launching the food waste breakthrough at COP30, which will be contributing to the action agenda area transforming agriculture and food system. And finally, I just also wanted to mention that we are working both at the national level, and you know that UNEP is working a lot with countries to implement commitments under the Paris Climate Agreement, but also under other multilateral environment agreements. However, with the years, we see how much engagement, support to the engagement of subnational actors has grown, and we're really looking forward to work in the support of the Subnational Cooling Pledge, Global ABC Subnational Action Group, Urban Shift, Urban Nature-Based Solutions. So there's lots of activities that we're also trying to synergize and put together to make sure that we provide adequate support to subnational actors towards also implementation of the Paris Agreement. And this is a local level, this is where the action taking place, only with engaging subnational actors where actually will make things happen and the agreement achieved. So, and with that, I would like to give back to Malia the floor, and looking forward to our workshop.
Yes, thank you very much, Gulnara, for this thorough introduction. I would like to invite all attendees of the webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, because we will address them on a rolling basis. Now, I'm very pleased to welcome Anna Zinecker, Head of Component at PIB, a Partnership for Energy Efficiency in Buildings, and also co-chair of the Global ABC Finance Hub, to give us a state of the art of climate finance for the built environment. Please, Anna, the floor is yours. Then we will address any questions if any. So please feel free to type. Thank you.
Great. Hello, Malia. Hello, everyone. I hope you can see the presentation. Wonderful. Yeah, let me just quickly start with something I was quite touched by this morning. So I actually read the letter of the Brazilian COP presidency outlining the action agendas, and it's a nice, comprehensive Word document. But it started with a little handwritten just 2 words, which was dear friend. And I was really touched because like I think we live in times that are a bit like not so friendly. So yeah, with that, I think this is the spirit how we should collaborate. So dear friends, I'm very happy to give you a short introduction in kind of like some of the key issues we're discussing at the moment on buildings and finance. And yeah, I'll do this on the one hand, kind of like from my professional background with the Partnership for Energy Efficiency in Buildings, but also as co-chair of the Global ABC Finance Hub, which I lead together with my colleague Omid from IFC. So really quickly, so this is just a figure, and I mean, I know this comes from the climate negotiations, and it's incredibly political and a very difficult question to answer, kind of like how much money do we need to mobilize for climate finance to really address the issues we're facing. I just basically put it there to just say kind of just the scale of things. So I think like one proposal that's being discussed is like 300 billion mobilized in public funds, but then also touching 1.3 trillion every year, including mobilizing kind of private investments. So I mean, the question is always, I think Gulnara had another question right now. So this is like something you can find when you search a bit on the internet, is like 1 trillion. Yeah, that's mobilized by global real estate investment. I think I also heard this like 7 trillion number. Anyways, just to say, kind of like when you compare numbers, I mean, of course, I mean, a lot of this is actually not in emerging markets. Yeah, I think this is for sure. But I mean, just to say, if we do manage to touch buildings, I think this is really going a lot in this question of like, how can we actually really mobilize the private sector for climate mitigation. And here's a figure, I mean, just really quickly, from where we stand at the moment. So I think this is a snapshot from the World Energy Investment Report of the IEA, where you can see, I think in blue, the blue graphs, that's kind of like the investments going towards energy efficiency in buildings. As you see, maybe that investment has been shrinking slightly, has been going down. And what's really interesting is if we look at like the scenarios that the IEA develops for 2030, we're really far off. Yeah. So I think we need to double that at least. And if you don't want to plow through the World Energy Investment Report of the IEA, you can just go to your trusted report of Global ABC, the Buildings GSR, where you can really see this. Just really a few key highlights that are important to factor in. One thing is it's not only mitigation, it's also adaptation. So I think this is one of the key topics that we're facing, is that question of climate risk. So we know the number of people at risk, but also kind of like the economic trade-offs that we really need to address. So we know investing in resilience pays off. We also, ja, bitte, das ist wie Fernsehen. Sorry, that's my daughter. So really need to look into how to mobilize this, because we know with climate change, on the one hand, we have the adaptation risk, but there's also a risk of creating stranded assets if we're serious about climate mitigation. So that means, you know, if your home or your asset doesn't comply, it might just become a stranded asset. And I want to draw your attention, by COP30, we'll have the OECD study that's currently working on this. And I think this will be a very important piece that really shows this exposure and really kind of mobilizes actors. Another key point I wanted to quickly bring is the work with development banks, but then also, let's say, national banks. So this is a piece of work that came out this February. So the question of how can development banks tackle this issue and how can they be mobilized to really become actors in this transition. Lots of case studies. The important point is, where do we take this forward? So this is really one key stepping stone. I mean, we just discussed in Global ABC Finance Hub kind of how we bring this to the COP. So we said we would put in a side event where we really want to bring in actors even more broadly to really make a coalition on this and really highlight this because I think these are key actors. And then one last one. And this is very fresh. So the picture is from last week. We did a side event on the side of the SBs here in Bonn. So this is really the question of, I mean, the CDM is dead, yeah, the old financing mechanisms. We have Article 6 coming out of the Paris Agreement. Basically, the rules are there. Countries are setting up how it's possible to basically trade emissions reductions between countries. Possibly, this will create a lot of revenue going towards climate projects. The question is, though, will it go to buildings? And I mean, this is exactly the question that the buildings actors really have to work on this year. So we just published a draft white paper that looks into what's the methodologies, what's the project, is it possible, how is it possible? We had expert feedback, and now we're developing this really into a handbook that is kind of like a resource for countries to take this work forward. We're working very closely with Morocco on this. I mean, because Morocco is both a champion on Article 6 and on the buildings front. So really, together with Morocco, we will explore what are potential projects and how they could be taken forward. But then, of course, the idea is to bring that forward, share the results. We will develop a training, work also with the International Council for Building and Construction, and really see kind of how this could be made really available to countries wanting to explore this, because we know buildings are underfinanced. I think I'll stop here. Very happy to take your questions. And yeah, I think just inviting everyone. I think COP is closer than we think. So the finance actors in Global ABC are really kind of collecting their forces. And yeah, we would be very happy for you to engage further on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. So far, we don't have any question, but I may have one for the handbook that you're preparing and launching at COP on the Article 6. I could read that Morocco is very much engaged. Who are also are you also engaged with other countries already, or will it be after?
So I mean, it's possible. So I think Morocco is really the front runner. So I think right now we're starting the work. I think we'll have the first workshop in July. And basically, then we will share the work throughout the networks of Global ABC in the International Council for Buildings and Construction to really, I think there is a bit of awareness raising to be still done because it's, I mean, there's a lot of insecurity kind of connected to carbon markets. But yeah, I think this is part of our mission to basically explore what can be done and really kind of make it explicit how useful it is and what can be achieved there. Yeah.
So looking forward. Thank you so much. Looking forward to having you at the pavilion to showcase all this action and be aligned with the COP presidency. Now I'm pleased to welcome Lily Riahi, head of the Cool Coalition, to give us an update on the Global Cooling Pledge. Lily, please, the floor is yours. Thank you, and thank you, Anna.
Unmute myself. Oh, there we go. Can you hear me now? Sorry. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Malia, and happy to be here with everybody. Well, good morning or good afternoon or good evening. I don't know where, depending on where you're joining us from. I am particularly happy to be at this webinar as it's the launch of the COP30 Buildings and Cooling Pavilion webinar series. So thank you for bringing this together, Malia. I've just returned from Bonn, from the SBs, and I'm quite energized by a gathering we had there of delegates from over 60 countries and also cities who came together ahead of just back to back with the SB meetings for our very first Global Cooling Pledge focal point meeting, which was hosted by Germany, Italy, the United Arab Emirates, and chaired by the COP30, right, Brazil as the COP30 presidency. And why I think this is so significant, or why this has energized me, well, I mean, 2 years ago, or less than 2 years ago, I think 18 months ago, we launched at COP28 the Global Cooling Pledge, which was the first commitment to reduce the cooling-related emissions by 68% by 2050, while also ensuring that we can all have equitable access to cooling. And the pledge, which was spearheaded by the Cool Coalition, now is bringing together all these governments, cities, businesses, financial institutions to work towards this one urgent goal of making sure we can deliver cooling sustainably through concrete actions like smarter city and building design, nature-based solutions, greater energy efficiency, and cleaner refrigerants. So today we have over 72 countries and 80 non-state actors that are supporting the pledge, and seeing so many of them come to Bonn from around the world, mainly developing and emerging economies, really reaffirm that this topic is one that is important for our climate goals, and one that really unites us, let's say, in action on climate adaptation and mitigation. I think the urgency to act is clear. I don't need to tell everyone that cooling is, using a fifth of electricity. Actually, it's a fifth of global energy consumption. So 20% is going for cooling, and we're just getting hotter and hotter. So we really need to take some important, decisive steps to make sure we reduce the emissions by 2050, but while also ensuring that the billion people in the world that don't have access to cooling in their homes, schools, hospitals, or farms, or are able to be cooled. And if we do that, we can obviously deliver significant benefits for health, for economic productivity, for resilience. And the focal point meeting in Bonn gave us a lot of momentum, that this pledge and this community of countries and stakeholders are really wanting to translate these commitments into action, and which was the main topic of discussion at the meeting, really how things are progressing. And some of the key outcomes that I'd love to share from the meeting is first a collaboration between the COP30 presidency and UNEP on Beat the Heat initiative. So this will officially launch at COP30, but basically the idea is it's to work with subnationals around the world on identifying the hotspots in their cities, and developing project pipelines to support those hotspots. So it's really like what we would call heat mapping. It's to actually deploy passive and nature-based cooling solutions and protect the most vulnerable. And it's about procuring energy efficient equipment in public buildings. So those are really the areas, or let's say the three pillars of action under the Beat the Heat. And it's meant to be the means through which we can accelerate implementation of the Global Cooling Pledge with partnership with many of you in the community. So this was a really great outcome, and it's also really important to see that the COP presidency is putting heat resilience, adaptation to heat, cooling, and urban agenda so front and center of their priorities. But of course, in addition to these ambitions, we also need implementation. So we launched also the Enabling Pledge implementation for cooling facility, which will provide technical assistance and finance mechanism support to countries and cities to actually translate the commitments from pledges to plans and then to investments. And last, I think two more important initiatives to share is that we'll be highlighting Cool Champions. So we'll be launching Cool Champions initiative, which is really highlighting countries that have been pushing the boundary on sustainable cooling around the world. That will be launched at COP30. And of course, continuing our dynamic partnership with the Global Alliance on Buildings and Construction to deliver some of these initiatives, such as Beat the Heat, but also to, of course, co-host the Buildings and Cooling Pavilion at COP30. So I think we really look forward to working with this community. I think the built environment and the cooling sector go hand in hand, especially as extreme heat is one of the most defining challenges of our time, and really look forward to working with you, invite you to join us, to partner, and to collaborate with us towards COP30. Thanks. Back to you, Malia.
Thank you very much, Lily. For this thorough update on how much your Cool Coalition is doing to achieve a sustainable cooling, and how you're engaging all the supply chain and practicing multi-level governance. So congrats, and looking forward for an impactful COP together. Without further ado, I will now welcome Anna Fraui, lead at the Global ABC, to give us more on the buildings agenda. Thank you again, Lily, and please, Hannah, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Malia. So I'm actually going to give you an update on the work that we've done on buildings at the 62nd session of the UNFCCC subsidiary bodies in Bonn. So next slide, please. So while in Bonn, I've had the pleasure of attending the different SB sessions and to meet with some of the main partners of our sector, and some of them are today online. So I really want to thank you for giving me the time to kind of understand what are your priorities and update you on what will be ours. So I just wanted to, briefly give you an impression of what we've done on buildings there, what kind of official meetings we've had, and then my impressions from my conversations with the COP presidency team. So the main two events really that we're trying to push issues related to buildings were one that was held by the technology mechanism. So we had an official side event organized by the Technical Executive Committee of UNFCCC. So as most of you know, within its work plan, the TEC is taking steps to promote technologies and practices that could assist countries in achieving climate goals for buildings. And as part of that work plan, one of the activities that they're really working on alongside us is trying to come up with some strong policy recommendation papers on two main topics. So one would be about fast tracking the deployment of proven climate technologies. And the second one, using building performance data to unlock investments. So we're really, with these two papers, we're partnering with MIT's Climate Policy Center, and we're really trying to get the best kind of evidence from across the world and recommend what is the best way of deploying technologies and what is the best way of attracting financing through better data in our sector. So the objective here would be for the first one, the one on deployment of proven climate technologies, to be launched at COP. And the reasoning here is that we would want that to influence the policy recommendations that the TEC will do to the COP process this year. So this is one track through which we're trying to influence the TEC in its technology recommendations. We're also in parallel working with CTCN, still within the technology mechanism of UNFCCC, to provide technical assistance to countries and support building decarbonization and resilience in the sector. So here, the event was mostly focused on the first one, on how to deploy proven climate technologies, and very briefly, the main kind of consensus on the room. And I'm sure I'm not saying anything new here that everyone in the community knows, but it was really important to kind of get everyone on board on this. But that is really, you need to be looking at technology, policy, data, and finance together to be able to deploy technology. And we really want to bear in mind that in this COP, the presidency has asked to put a lot of emphasis on deploying tangible solutions and successful solutions. And this is why we will be also through the Global ABC and the Solar Impulse Foundation working on a strong catalog of technological solution deployments examples from across the world. Next slide, please. The second event, if I can have the next slide. The second event was focused on the climate technologies. So we had an official side event organized by the Technical Executive Committee of UNFCCC. So as most of you know, within its work plan, the TEC is taking steps to promote technologies and practices that could assist countries in achieving climate goals for buildings. And this is one track through which we're trying to influence the TEC in its technology was on ICBC. So we took the opportunity of having many parties in place in Bonn to have an executive briefing on ICBC to ensure that maybe those who were already active members are up to date with what we want to do, and to ensure that some other countries that were potentially missed on the messaging around the ICBC, so the Intergovernmental Council on Buildings and Climate, could potentially join. So very briefly, for those online that do not know what the ICBC is, it's the Intergovernmental Council for Buildings and Climate, and that is the implementation arm of the Déclaration de Chaillot, which is a high-level political declaration with commitments from across mitigation and adaptation for the sector. They have been signed up by 46 governments, and we have 17 additional observers. So the briefing was quite well attended. We had 13 national governments present, and they're the ICBC co-chairs, which are for this term, Brazil, France, and Kenya, have laid out and announced their priorities, which focus mostly on finance and green and climate resilient housing. And as a tangible outcome that was also announced by our partners in Brazil, and that us as the Global ABC, the Secretariat of the ICBC, we have announced that we want to try and deliver an action plan for affordable, resilient, and low carbon housing at COP, with potentially a pledge for financing and a set of kind of principles and commitments that countries could sign up to on how to deliver at scale green and resilient affordable housing. Next slide, please. So these were the two kind of official events, but obviously, as everyone does in Bonn, I was mostly trying to get as much information as possible on what we can do with the presidency, what we can do with other parties for our agenda. And my impression, and I think most of you would have noticed it, is that we have a high level of support from the COP presidency. In fact, it feels that buildings and decarbonization and resilience now sit higher in the COP presidency agenda than any time in the recent years. We also have high chances of influencing the COP official negotiations outcomes. In fact, there are several parties who have supported our efforts on trying to craft and include language on the building sector in the outcome text, should there be one. And as you will hear more on our pavilion from Malia, but as I said before, like the presidency is really focused on showcasing tangible solutions, successful approaches. So please work with us and get in touch if you think you have a tangible solution, a tangible approach that you've successfully demonstrated in different settings that you might want us to showcase. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Indeed, to complement Hanan call for action, also the COP30 presidency launches call for action and is currently doing a mapping. So I'm just putting, and they announced that they shared this slide last Friday at the SBs. So they are mapping the existing initiatives and coalitions and also the businesses, governments, organizations. So please, those slides will be shared in the proceedings, and please feel free to participate to the COP30 presidential calling. Next slide, please. Yeah, feel free also to join the Global Legacy Coalition, just as Hanan commented to join the action and join the coalition. Thank you. Then I will now give you an update on the Buildings and Cooling Pavilion. So the Buildings and Cooling Pavilion has been initiated last year with the Cool Coalition. This first edition with the Cool Coalition last year, and the pavilion has been. We have a pavilion at the COP30, the COPs since COP26. Excuse me, next slide, please. Just to give you an overview, so the COP Building and Cooling Pavilion is located in the blue zone. So this is the overview that the presidency shared. For now, this is in construction. So this is an AI generated image that the COP presidency shared. So this is the layout. This is where we will be. Where exactly we will be, we still don't know. Next slide, please. The provisional layout. So we applied this week for 100 square meters. We still aim to have live stream our sessions and then stored into the Buildings and Cooling Pavilion YouTube channel. We aim to have a meeting room, a coffee corner. We applied officially to have a space. We will have the confirmation in July, hopefully, on the setup where we will be located and to which extent will materialize the endorsement of the Minister of Cities. So we have been officially endorsed by the Minister of Cities of Brazil, and I will share updates as soon as I have them. Next slide, please. In the meantime, I invite all Cool Coalition members and all Global ABC members to submit their session proposals. We will start building up the program from July onwards. I am pleased to inform you that I've extended the deadline to 18th of July, so it's not too late to join the action at COP30. The motto this year is creating resilience communities with efficient buildings, sustainable cooling, and better materials, which is in line of the action agenda shared by the COP presidency. Next slide, please. I'm pleased also to inform you that we will have a reception hosted by Saint-Gobain in Ladera do Castello that Saint-Gobain is renovating especially for COP30. Next slide, please. Yeah. Our supporters so far are, I'm pleased to thank Daikin, Trend Technology, Arup, Autodesk, and many more for their support to the pavilion. Without them, we couldn't. We are grateful to have their support for the pavilion. Next slide, please. And the supporters in terms of content this year are wider. Has Building to COP, International Code Council, but also Net Zero Banking Alliance and UNEP-FI are the new partners, as well as United for Efficiency and One Planet Network. Next, please. So now I will be very happy to welcome your questions and invite you to the next webinar we will organize. So the next one is on sustainable construction in Brazil on bio-based materials. The one in September 14 will be probably on energy transition and cooling, then market transformation for the built environment, and finally on the program of the pavilion in November. Thank you all. So let's see if we have any questions in the Q&A. No. Then thank you. I will thank you everyone for your participation and looking forward to seeing you at the next webinar and at COP as well. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. And thank you to Marie-Sophie and Antara for the organization of the webinar.